In this episode of the Denoised podcast, we're going to take a look at Google DeepMind,
Vive Filmmaking,
and the battle O Cinema is facing against my hometown, the city of Miami Beach. Let's get into it.
Welcome back. How was your weekend?
Good weekend. Pretty chill. How was your weekend? Yeah.
You went up the Malibu coast.
Yeah, first time driving up the PCH-ish as much as we could since the fires. A lot of the roads still shut down, so kind of had to do a big loop zigzag to go around it. But yeah, it's one of my favorite drives. So it was nice to be back there. It's always beautiful. Let's see. First up, we got Google DeepMind and Gemini Flash 2.0. So tell me about Google DeepMind, what you've been seeing with it.
Yeah, let's take a step back. Google DeepMind is a research arm of the massive company Google. Now, when it comes to AI, we always talk about OpenAI and Perplexity and Anthropic, but Google just doesn't enter the conversation in that top tier kind of way, at least not the way I perceive it. However, having said that, DeepMind and the team there are doing incredible work.
Okay, so what are you seeing?
So there's this video that just came out where they have a humanoid robot and then bits and bobs of robots like an arm or whatever, doing things in real time, responding to commands in real time.
So like what? Like what are they doing? Like
You roll a green dice and it shows up as number 5, and then there is a red dice next to it, and you tell the robot, hey, take that red dice and match it to the green dice. And it will like burp, 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 do it in real time. Of course, it's a little bit slow. And that's
you're telling it in just plain English,
natural language, and then you could kind of see the camera feed of the robot. So the magic to all of this, and I think the overarching engineering project, is that taking any camera feed as input, as like our eyes, and using AGI, turning it into actual responses and commands for the robotic limbs and so on.
So kind of this like bridging the gap between like a computer being able to understand the physical world.
So if you go back to Google AI Studio, and then I think you covered Google Flash 2.0 as well, what it's doing is it's grabbing a screen grab from a computer and then using those RGB pixels as an input into a real-time inference system. This is like a general sense of that. So you would need something like Cosmos, what NVIDIA has, which is a world model. So it can decipher everything around you, chair, table, coffee cup, laptop, you name it, in real time, figure out what it is, and then have an understanding of what the user wants you to do, overlay that, and then turn it into commands for the robotic servos so it can move its arm accurately.
Okay, so is it kind of doing this, but in a slower motion, like move arm, take picture, figure out what's happening, move arm, take picture, figure out what's happening?
A little bit.
Like, is that what's happening now?
Yeah, it's
but
like
the
10
future,
frames per second.
Right, but the future point is like it can move this, and sort of like our brain operates. I'm like, I'm moving my hand and I see my hands approaching my laptop screen.
It's crazy.
To close it. So like that's where we're heading.
And I don't know if you run AI inference locally on your machine. I do the Comfy UI stuff all the time. That stuff takes minutes, maybe tens of minutes. I mean, real-time inference on a general purpose system is crazy. I mean, imagine the gigabytes of stuff that it has to churn through.
Yeah. So where else do you see this, like what applications, where else do you see this going with the DeepMind applications?
Great question. So obviously the immediate one that comes to mind is cars, autonomous cars. I think what's happening with Waymo.
Yeah, I see them all the time.
Yeah. That's a very specialized system, and I think it's a little bit legacy because it's built on LiDARs and just like an older system. Whereas if you convert that over to a general AGI type system like Gemini, that could really open things up to put it on motorcycles, put it on planes, put it on anything, and it'll work.
Now, obviously, something like Waymo with a car, that needs to happen in real time, because
and not at 10 frames per second, like 100 frames per second.
There's no delay for waiting for the car to figure out, am I about to hit a pedestrian or car? And yeah, I think that's probably why when you talk about legacy systems, like we need that in a car for now, for sure.
Let's actually just cut to the chase, if you will, Joey. Like in our lifetime, we're going to see humanoid robot servants. That's fully capable of doing the dishes, doing the laundry, picking up the kids, whatever. That is where DeepMind is heading, and they're making pretty significant progress.
Yeah.
Are you scared?
Am I scared? I mean, no, I'm more excited about interested about this.
Same. Well, the flip side of it is if it's so good at a general problem solve and robot dexterity and real-time problem solving, what's stopping China from turning it into military bots with guns?
I mean, yeah, I feel like I've seen videos of not like bipedal robots, but those dog-looking robots that are kind of menacing looking, that have a turret on them. Yeah.
T-1000, right?
Yeah.
Like a humanoid.
Yeah, which is also like that Black Mirror episode with the killer robots chasing people with guns, like drone swarms, drone warfare.
Yeah.
Being able to just mass produce thousands of drones. And
yeah, those drones would have to real-time inference on device, on the drone. And with the way compute is going now, and there is a shift towards GPU, away from GPU into TPUs, tensor processing units, which are more efficient at real-time inference, offline inference. And they're smaller. They're more like a chip and not a giant GPU. Mm-hmm. So that's the world we're heading in.
Yeah, I'm more optimistic about the good stuff about this, not as excited about the crazy robot warfare.
I think we'll see both, to be fair. Maybe more of the good stuff and a couple of the bad stuff.
I mean, there's just going to be a new arms race of like both sides developing like crazy robots. And then it's like, well, we don't actually want to get into a fight and a stalemate or whatever happens if like you just send swarms of robot armies after each other.
Yeah, and just to kind of recover robotics in general, the robotic mechanical stuff, like the motors, the limbs, the inverse kinematics to drive arms and like all the math, that's old, right? That's been figured out. Like if you go to any Disney park, there's robots in there. Imagineers play with robots every day. The new bit is the brain, the general intelligence, which unlocks everything.
Being able to like actually understand the physical world.
Yeah, and without running a crazy instruction set and then, or pausing when you don't know what you're doing because it's not in the programming language or whatever.
Right. It has an understanding of the world. It doesn't need to have been programmed with everything. It can figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part. Yeah.
And if it can learn from its mistakes, like if it just gets better at picking up the dice every time and just becomes super proficient at hand-eye coordination, if you will.
I mean, the other interesting thing I've been seeing, and this came out in it seemed like Disney Imagineering did a creator push recently, because I've seen 2 separate videos of like Imagineer tours from 2 big YouTube creators covering very similar
Cleo
things.
Abrams
Cleo Abrams and Mark Rober had another one that just came out. And some of them covered some different stuff, but both kind of covered the Star Wars robots that they built that are
autonomous.
Sort of autonomous. I think she was explaining like you control it, but you say, okay, get from point A to point B, but it figures out how to get there and can go over obstacles.
That's what I'm saying, because it has some level of general intelligence.
And but the training part was was really interesting, because they build virtual simulations of the robots in a physical world on the computer, and then in that environment, you're able to just train it thousands and thousands of times. They didn't get into speed, but I've always wondered that too, because you could also train them like time is relative in a computer. It doesn't need to be like a real-time training, so you could amp up the speed that is running in a computer and have it run through. I don't know what the max speed is. I was curious about that. They didn't get into that. But like, how fast could you simulate time in a computer to have this robot
I see.
run through thousands of iterations? Like if you're saying, okay, I need a robot to walk around this room. And if you're doing that in real life, it'd be like, okay, well, the robot takes 60 seconds to walk around this room, so you could only do 60 trainings an hour. But in a computer, you could run it at a much faster training speed. I don't know how fast. So it's like, can you run thousands of simulations like in a minute? Like the Matrix, Matrix style.
That's crazy.
I don't know what the top speed is, but that's the advantage of like, you could run thousands of training simulations at a computer to like really amp up the speeding of mimicking the physical world. And then, so by the time you put it into your very expensive prototype robot, you're at least not starting from zero. You have like this training data from simulations that you can put into your real life robot.
And they do this for autonomous cars. This is like 4 or 5 years back. So before the AI hype, I was interviewing for Cruise, the autonomous competitor to Waymo, and they were looking for Unreal engineers and Unreal artists, because they're building entire worlds in Unreal so their cars can simulate in it.
Same thing. That's also what NVIDIA keeps picking up, where they're just like, we're just vacuuming driving camera data, because it's just cameras in the real world. It's just like, you can just keep sucking that up.
Well,
and
the
training
NVIDIA
on
one
it.
is interesting because they could take all that image feed into Gaussian splats.
So they can bypass. Run much faster.
Yeah, they can bypass game engines altogether and still have a 3D perception of the world.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So the other interesting thing that's come out of Google and ties into, I believe they have so many projects going on. I'm assuming it sort of is under DeepMind. It's definitely under Gemini, but it's Google Gemini Flash 2.0. And the thing that's been going around, it's available in the AI studio. It's basically conversational photo editing that's like really good, and it just like understands it.
Give me an example.
So I've seen a lot of examples on X of just colorizing historic photos. You give it a black and white photo and you say, colorize this. And it just like colorizes it. That's probably very simple.
But like, do you know how hard that is to do?
I know, to understand what the color should be.
Yeah. And then go through it channel by channel. That's how they do it. So you go through just the red, just
like an actual, when they were restoring or trying to restore the colors. But even wilder examples are, you can upload a photo of yourself, and kind of similar to the Pika editions thing we were talking about a while ago, a picture of us, and it's like, oh, like add a robot in between us. And it just like takes the picture and then adds a robot here. I'm usually not a fan of like chat and text interfaces for creative work because it's like, doesn't understand. But in this case, it kind of seems like it does understand. If you're like, put a cup of water in my like right hand, and it like just modifies that segment and like adds the cup of water.
But what about precise control? Like, hey, can you put a logo on that cup of water? This logo.
I think you could maybe upload another image, but you're still going to hit that issue when you're talking. Yeah, if I'm like, okay, I put my hand, on the table versus higher up. Like, it's still lacking that precise control. But the fact that it's able to understand the
natural language
and the physics and of what's in the image and recreate a new output.
Really impressive. I think that's just like a thin ligament of what they're really after. Which is like general world recognition and inference and intelligence.
Yeah. And I think just more updates in the 3D space and in the physical world is like going to be a big thing for the rest of this year.
Like, is there a point where you're done, or is just always a work in progress?
With the photo?
With general intelligence?
I don't know. I mean,
right? That's like a philosophical question.
Once AGI actually exists, does it start just like improving on itself? Is that like
that's what
AGI should be doing?
Like, okay, let's say we have a humanoid robot that could 100% do what humans can do. Do you say like, I think we want to exceed humans at this point?
I feel like if the AGI truly exists, it would probably want to do that.
Right. Actually, this dice rolling thing is dumb. I know the odds of this already.
I'm just going to like build a rocket ship and go explore the universe.
Yes.
Like, by piece.
Exactly.
All right. So next up, vibe filmmaking.
Tell me all about it.
This doesn't really, we're making this a thing now. This doesn't actually exist. This is an example or an experiment of going off of vibe coding, which has been a thing that's been going around for like a month or so. And so vibe coding is a style of coding using these new AI tools that we've mentioned in the past, that are AI tools that are focused on coding, where they could just code for you using natural language. So like some of the big ones are Replit, Cursor, Bolt, I believe is another one. And you just kind of give it a text prompt like we were just talking about with Gemini.
Yeah.
But instead of making an image, it's making a programming
like snippets of code.
These go beyond that. It builds out the full code where you could run
IDE. Integrated developers environment,
something like that. Yeah, I think it's a full. If you're trying to code in Claude, it can kind of run some of the code, but it's not like a full-fledged.
It's not compiling.
It's not compiling. Compiler. Yes.
Yeah. This is a full-on compiler.
Yeah, these can do the compiling, and it can build out the full application just from text prompts.
Yeah. So instead of you typing, you just vibe.
Right. So the vibe idea is you're not getting as in the weeds with like actually like figuring out what the code's doing. You're just like telling the AI, like, build me this, app, and then it creates it, and then you start testing it, and then you start kind of vibing and just be like, no, that's not working. Like, make it better. And there's a bunch of memes about this, but it's like, you fix this error.
Dude, all the elite coders, like even like a Zuckerberg or a Bill Gates or, these guys that kind of built the world, right? They're probably like, what the hell?
I mean, I think there are bad sides to this. And we've also talked about this before, where it's like, well, if this is how you're learning to code and you don't have the basic understanding of coding, how are you going to know what's wrong with it when it's it doesn't work?
3 or 4 versions later, or maybe like 20, 30 years later, that chunk of code is completely understandable. Like, who can go in there and service it? Because it's all like mumble, just like piled on.
Yeah, it's not making documentation as it's going along.
Yeah.
But so for the sense of vibe coding, and so let's just go with the assumption that people are doing this for fun and not putting it into production. People probably are putting it into production, but let's just go with they're doing it for fun. And some of the attendants or ideas behind this are rapid iteration, acceptance without full understanding, minimal code writing. So this is a path for doing this with code, but how could we do this with filmmaking?
Oh, that sounds fun, actually.
Vibe filmmaking.
So first of all, you don't need a camera or a budget anymore. I would say the number one driver is just generative workflows, text to image, text to video, image to video. For me, I would start with story concepts, what I want to create. How about you?
I was interpreting this more as like a mood board exercise. So not necessarily like I'm going to vibe filmmake something that I'm going to like publish.
So
or
you
like,
go right to the generation.
Yeah, I'm thinking, well, because if it's vibe filmmaking, I want to like start seeing visual stuff. And assuming I'm like, I maybe have some, I'm not going after a specific story. Like I'm going at this from, I don't have a specific script from like, or a specific shot in mind where like, I got to like execute that. Cause I feel like you'd have to be much more specific about that.
Yeah.
More like, let me make like a vibe pirate. What's something that has like a pirate vibe or something that has like an ancient Egypt vibe.
And then you generate something with pirates. And you're like, I think that should have more pirates in it. Or
I could just go into this where it's like, I don't really have a specific output I'm looking for. I'm just going to try to go with the flow. That's my interpretation of vibe filmmaking. And
I guess if you're creative enough, you could take these paths to
I feel like it would be a path where you want to kind of just see like, I don't know where the destination could be, but I want to like explore that. And there's a couple of tools or techniques, I think, that can lend itself to doing that.
To vibe filmmaking?
To vibe filmmaking. Yeah, I think there's some things that are out there that already exist that would be a good example for this.
Like what?
Okay, so my go-to one when we were talking about this beforehand that I think is really ideal for this is a Luma Dream Machine.
Oh,
so they
never
did
heard of it.
So Luma,
I know. I don't know Dream Machine product.
Dream Machine is just kind of what they call their generative platform, but it's Luma AI. It's the same tools, but the Dream Machine was something they
like super hallucination induced. Maybe just more creative.
It's what they call their platform. It's the platform.
Okay.
But it's running their new Array 2 models. They just redid their interface and they called it the Dream Machine, but it's running their current models and some of their older models and what they can do. But it has some features built into it that I haven't seen anyone else do. And I think it lends itself to vibe filmmaking. So one of them is you sort of start a project and you kind of like give it your first prompt, and then it'll give you the images, but then it'll turn some of the words into pillboxes with suggestions for like other words. So like other characters, other styles. Oh, wow. And so you can just click on a pillbox, and then as soon as you click on it, it'll start making a new set of images.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then it'll start making a new set of images. Like every time you change an option, it doesn't even ask for permission. It just starts generating more images.
It's like generate your own adventure kind of thing.
Yeah. So it really lends itself to, and it doesn't even put it in a new chat box. It makes a horizontal scroll. So it's very much like just keeps putting out a bunch of images. And then it has a brainstorm feature where it'll kind of take what you've done so far and then give you more ideas for like different styles of prompts or different directions you can take it in.
I feel like if you gamify it enough, you could turn it into a pretty fun game.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the most gamey, just kind of like really just explore an idea or see where it takes you. And it's a free
environment, free open world kind of a thing.
Yeah, they're definitely the most like, here's some ideas and see where it takes you. There's a restyle feature. You can combine a bunch of images to like turn into different styles. So I feel like Dream Machine as a all-in-one platform without having to bring in other tools is like the best for this vibe. Yeah,
there, you heard it here first on Denoised.
Luma Dream Machine, vibe filmmaking. You can take that idea, Luma Dream Machine, just credit us.
Maybe if any of our listeners want to submit a film, we'll talk about it here on the pod. A vibe filmmaking.
Yeah, just tag us.
Yeah.
The other one that came to mind is Midjourney, which I know you know about. But when you're doing prompts in Midjourney, they have different settings, and so there are 3 settings that sort of became famous for if you want to just kind of take things off the rails and really explore.
Okay.
And the 3 settings are stylize, chaos, and weird.
Oh, wow.
And
that's
you used to
awesome.
have to, now it's easier because there's a slider in the web interface of Midjourney, but you used to have to know these specific codes and call them up.
So Midjourney, to me, feels a little bit old school because they were one of the first. And so I haven't revisited them in a while.
They're still, I think, one of the best image generators.
Okay.
And for stuff like this. So stylize it's a setting. So you can max out stylize to 1,000 and it determines how much Midjourney applies its artistic flair to your prompt. So if you crank that all the way up, it's going to take a lot of liberty and creative LSD. Interpretation. Yeah. Chaos, you can crank that up to 100. And that is how similar, because when you prompt Midjourney, it makes 4 images. Chaos is how similar these images should or should not be. So if you crank it up to 100, the images are going to be as different as possible. So you get a lot of variety.
Yeah, I mean, learning more and more about diffusion models, like there is a dial called CFG. It's something configuration-free guidance. And basically, it's just a dial of how autonomous you want the generation to be and how much you want it to stick to the text that you gave it.
Yeah, and a lot of newer or some of the tools have under the hood, they call it like a magic enhance or something. And it's basically taking your text prompt and then running it through another prompt to like expand the prompt.
Yeah.
Before it actually sent it to the image.
So it's like doubling up on the...
Basically, like as if you were to give your prompt to like ChatGPT and be like, hey, I need to create an image prompt, like improve this prompt. And then it makes a much more descriptive prompt that works better with image generation.
Okay.
It's kind of doing that under the hood. So you don't know it. You put in like, I want a picture of a table.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's kind of vague.
Yeah.
So in the background, it's actually like enhancing that text prompt before it gives it to the image generators on some of these tools. Midjourney, last one, weird. You can crank that all the way up to 3,000. And that is just how much originality or quirkiness it adds to the images. So if you crank these all the way up, stylize 1,000, chaos 100, weird 3,000, and you put in your prompt, that's a good way. And I've done this before too, if I'm just sort of like trying to mood board or brainstorm and it's like, I don't really know what style I'm looking for. Let me just put some words in here and see what comes
crank
out.
Up weird.
Yeah. And that's another good way to just kind of vibe generate. Another thing too is you could also prompt with emojis, which is another thing you can try. And sometimes it gets you weird and interesting results. So that's just another hack for
it's a way to communicate with, like emojis. You can say so much. Just ask any kid.
I will say one thing I think with this idea of vibe filmmaking, the challenge is speed, because you're vibing, you're making, you want to like get that real-time feedback. But with the generative tools, it's hard because you put your thing in and then you wait. Yeah. And then you wait. Luma runs pretty quick, but a lot of other, especially like a Kling or something where it could take like 10 minutes to get a video output. Sure. That's an impediment. You
lose your vibe.
It ruins the vibe. Yeah.
I mean, like, just I guess I'm so old school because I am so structure driven and sequence and shot driven that I can't vibe filmmake.
Your vibe.
I like the way dude, you are the future, man.
This is too much of a too vibing. So
I can't vibe enough if there's no structure around the creation.
Well, the one tool that I think could work with the real-time issue is Crea. Have you messed with Crea?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so they have a real-time generative feature. It's lower res, but
it could take webcam input.
They could take a webcam. You could just start drawing shapes and then be like, oh, I need this to be like an alleyway. And it's like, and as you move it in real time, it starts generating the image.
Leonardo does that too.
Oh, yeah. So those two would be really good for this too, because you can like actually see it in real time.
Yeah.
It's funny. Side story with Crea. When I was filming the AI on the Lot last year, they did a Cinema Synthetica filmmaking competition with a couple teams. And so I was filming the behind the scenes documentary for the whole thing. And one of the teams was doing a zombie film and they were trying to do like a webcam hooked up to Crea and turned it into zombies. And for whatever reason, it would keep making the female zombies topless.
It's like negative prompt, not working.
And we were never quite sure why.
Okay.
You just keep seeing like images of just topless like zombies.
Yeah, like where's the training data?
I don't know what I was trained on. Right? With your more structured, less vibey approach, how would you, I don't know, try to bring more vibe into your creative process?
Yeah. So first of all, having an idea in your head of, look, I want to do a bank heist movie like, what's that famous Michael Mann movie?
Heat?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to do Heat, but I want it to be set in the Caribbean with the island vibe. I don't know, something like that.
Okay.
Like Cayman Island Heat.
Okay. So you know this. What would be the tool you hit up?
So do I want to replicate all of the main characters like a Robert De Niro and or do I want a new set of characters? So stories are always character driven. So I would want to define and round up primary character, secondary cast, all that. So that's my structure. And then in each act, what do I want to introduce? What do I want to fill out? And then how do I want the movie to end? Does it go into a sequel? All those things we're still in ChatGPT land, I think, or some kind of natural language land.
So like Claude or ChatGPT or something.
So then I would actually finish out a whole script and then take that script, feed it into a shot generator of some type, sequence generator. And then I would use the vibe filmmaking tools, knowing exactly what shot I'm making.
You know, I think one of the tools we talked about in the past, the newer ones, Flora, could work well with that, because one of their examples was like took a script, looked at the shots, figured out what the shots were, turned it into a prompt, turn that into an image.
Yes.
And it was like kind of like a way to do a first draft of like a storyboard.
So my vibe filmmaking would be problem solving at a shot level, which is way easier to me than just freestyle vibing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like structure, step one, still structured. Step two,
Yeah.
bring
It's
some
like,
vibe in.
I want the main character to walk into this beautiful Cayman Island bank, and I want there to be a giant palm tree because you're in Cayman Islands, and the main character is wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and I want the white shirt, like very specific things. And then I want to vibe on those needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I mean, you got to vibe, but then you got to lock it in because then you want that consistency, right? So like you need to like, that's why I was like thinking like, this feels like a brainstorming, mood boarding
But
kind of process.
If you structure it and vibe it and finish a 90-minute thing, then you go get your funding using that thing. And make a real movie.
Right. Maybe you have a script and you're like, all right, I need to take my script, turn it into a visual vibe.
Yeah.
To convey what I'm trying to go after.
Yeah.
Like you talked about a while ago with The Matrix.
Yes, because the Wachowskis did it 26 times or something insane.
Yeah, they just couldn't convey to the people like what the vibe of The Matrix was supposed to be like.
If they had vibe filmmaking back then.
If they just let the robots make the vibe film about the robots.
How ironic.
Yeah. What else would you want to see in vibe filmmaking to, I don't know.
To make it more productive?
Yeah, to make this like more productive for brainstorming. Like where do you think the gaps are? Like I thought
think
it was
I'm the wrong person to ask because, no. I mean, look, I am a type of filmmaker or whatever name you associate with that. I think vibe filmmaking and the way you create stories it should be unstructured and non-linear and for a new generation of filmmakers. So like, I can't think of how to make a proper film with vibe filmmaking tools because I'm not that person. But I respect the person that picks up these tools and does something amazing with it.
Partly, I think, it'll be interesting to see where things go in the future or with like, new generation of filmmakers where like this is sort of the baseline of what they learn on.
Yeah.
And then other part of me is like, maybe they'll dabble with this, and then maybe as things mature, they'll realize that the structure and process that has already been established sticks around for a reason.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we've been making movies for over 100 years, and the way movies are made with pre-production, production, post, like, it's there for a reason.
Yeah. Like, I'll do things even on YouTube stuff where it's like, well, we'll shoot and, we'll just kind of edit it down. Yeah. And then it's like, I was like, we just would have saved so much time if we like had scripted some stuff out some more, just like at least have an outline. Yeah. Before going in, it's like, oh right, that's why we do this.
That's
before.
why you do this.
Yeah, to like save time in the long run.
Yeah,
like,
but I if you can beat it, go for it.
Yeah, right. I mean, and maybe that at least some people the process works differently or they're better with other processes, and so it's like by having more options too, that could ultimately lead to
we have
better
such
outputs
a good problem.
Process.
The filmmakers of today have such a good problem on their hands, which is they have too much tools.
Yeah, they
have too many things to do the same thing with.
Yeah.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it is a good problem. All right. And next story, something that kills the vibe.
Yeah.
All right. So this one's personal. This one's my hometown of Miami Beach. There's controversy with O Cinema. So O Cinema is the local art house movie theater. Currently, their location is in the city of Miami Beach. They were going to do a screening of No Other Land, the Oscar-winning Best Documentary, which kind of focused on the Palestine-Israeli conflict.
Yeah.
And the mayor, Stephen Miner of Miami Beach, asked them to not screen it and said that it was biased. And initially they were going to comply, and then they realized, like, no, this is, freedom of speech. It's important to play this film. Yeah. So they went forward with it. And then now Stephen Miner wants to
shut the movie theater down.
So the theater, so from background, the theater is on it's in a city-owned building, so they lease it from the city, and they also receive some funding from the city. So now he wants to cancel the lease and evict them.
Do you know what his public reason is for that? Like, what did he say vocally about it, the mayor?
He called the film anti-Semitic and inconsistent with Miami Beach's values.
Oh, interesting. Is the film anti-Semitic?
I have not seen the film, so I cannot make that call. I mean, as far like from what I know and from what I saw from winning Best Documentary, it was made by both a Palestinian and an Israeli.
So it's an award-winning film.
This won Best Picture. This wasn't Best Documentary.
At the Oscars?
At the Oscars.
We didn't cover it in the Oscars episode. So look, if a movie is Oscar-winning, it's certainly balancing out both sides of the story.
I feel like no matter what, that validates... Agree with it or not, it validates that it is important like
to show
piece of
people
media and that it is not can't classify it as propaganda.
Yes.
Maybe you disagree with it. Maybe you could voice your opinion against it.
But it's not a defamation of the Jewish people. Like he's saying it is.
I mean, that's not what I've heard. I mean, I have not seen this film. Also, I mean, this film does not have distribution. No one wanted to touch this film for like reasons similar to this, where it's just such a hot topic and like it's embroiled in controversy.
Yeah.
And it's like stuff like this is happening where,
I mean, it's such a slippery slope, right? It's like the minute you start to penalize movies for being a vehicle of free speech, like at that point, any movie is fair game.
Look, I mean, he's more than welcome to like voice his, opinion against it. Totally, obviously, yeah, fine, please voice your opinion against it. But to then, if you don't get your way, to try to retaliate by shutting down a movie theater,
right?
Which also they host the Miami Jewish Film Festival every year. There's like I don't want to get this into a debate of like how supportive of the Jewish community are they? I mean, it's a slippery slope and ridiculous argument to like then also retaliate. Have your opinion, fine, but then to retaliate, try to kick them out. Also, just some backstory. So, like, O Cinema, it was co-created by my good friend of mine, Kareem Tapsh, and Vivian Martel. And they initially started in Wynwood, which is an area turned into an arts district in the city of Miami.
It's the cool part of town.
It is the cool part of town now, but O Cinema and Panther Coffee were dual-handedly responsible for like turning Wynwood into like what it is today. They were the first, like Wynwood was 10, 15 years ago. Wynwood was just like a rundown warehouse district that had like some art studios, but there was like no
it's kind of like the arts district in downtown here.
Yeah, similar to that. Where it's just like
now it's the
grungy warehouse. Yeah, now it is like Ducati dealerships and like parents with like
just
baby
like the
strollers.
Arts district here. Now you have Michelin star restaurants there.
Yeah, I mean, it got so crazy where the Wynwood Walls, which was like a famous place where like they had a bunch of Wall Street art, they started charging admission to go into that. Yeah, it turned into like Disneyland. But,
come on.
Like this was like a pretty kind of sketchy bullet casings on the floor area like 10, 15 years ago. And Panther Coffee came in, had a coffee shop there, and then O Cinema was around the corner, and they were like, they gave you reasons to go there.
Yeah.
Outside. Does that help turn and establish the like cultural art scene? I would also say like without sort of indirectly without O Cinema, Moonlight,
the movie.
Yeah, which was shot in Miami. Barrett Jenkins shot it in there. Tom McCraney wrote
another
it.
Oscar winner.
Yeah. That like I would say that also like would not have existed.
Wow.
Indirectly, I'm trying to like.
That's cool.
It just like they brought the independent film scene and like made it worthwhile in Miami. So like hugely culturally important.
Okay.
Has done a lot for the culture of Miami. And the independent film scene in Miami.
This like you're from there. Is this mayor like problematic just in general?
I didn't know anything about him until this thing came up.
Okay. So no.
I've not heard anything else about him. I haven't been involved in the like day-to-day action of Miami Beach.
Yeah. Look, I'm just glad that like this is not something that's going underreported.
No, and now this is making like international news. Like now, like I first saw this in like my local like Facebook feed and like Miami Herald. Yeah. But now it's like The Guardian, The New York Times, NPR. Yeah. It is. I mean, it's just kind of it's not like because I was trying to think. Okay, what would be the line of like a propaganda film and like something that like maybe someone has a right to say like no, you can't play this. And
if it's an actual defamation of the Jewish people, then I get it. Like. Yeah.
Take it down. And that there's no, I don't know who produced it or like, I'm trying to think, how would you like draw the line between like, a piece of media that is accurate, but maybe you disagree with, or straight up propaganda with like, like inaccurate facts or like warping facts. I don't have a clear answer to that, but the thing I am leaning on is like, not only was it nominated for Academy Award, it won Best Picture, Best Documentary,
right? Which
feels like a hugely important validation.
Yeah.
Of like, regardless of your personal opinions or beliefs about it, like still important to
people need to see this film
display or they have the right to play it.
They have the right to play it. Absolutely.
Whether you want to see it or not, that's your choice.
Right.
You can voice your opinion against it.
Yeah.
But to retaliate because they're doing something, playing a movie that you're not happy with.
So if they weren't in a city-owned building, you think the retaliation would still be there? I mean, just speculating. Like maybe it'd be a different type of.
You wouldn't have that control, but it's a city-owned building. They lease from it. I mean, they also have they receive some city grants. I mean, O Cinema, it's a state of independent movie theaters. Like they rely on grants and outside funding. They can't just self-support like in order to.
The movie theater business is not a good business.
Yeah, it's a tough business, especially if you are not playing Marvel movies all the time and you're trying to play smaller independent films.
Yeah, maybe Quentin Tarantino should just buy them out.
Just buy every independent movie theater and keep them going.
Yeah.
So it is up for a city commission vote on if they're going to void their lease. And I'm assuming if they do pass that there will be a lot of like legal challenges to if they can actually do that.
Yeah.
But the vote is Wednesday the 19th. So like tomorrow from when this episode comes out, so we should have an answer. I have seen some comments from other commissioners being like, you could have your, like, I don't support the film. I have my opinion against it, but like OCinema has been a great partner. Like kicking them out is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, look, we're not a political show here, right? The reason we're covering this is because
it's about cinema,
it's about distributing and consuming cinema.
Yeah. And this just feels
wrong at its core.
Personal to me. Yeah. And also good news though, too. One other thing is OCinema has also finally secured building out their own dedicated movie theater in Little River, which is another area of Miami. So, and that's supposed to open this summer. So,
oh, dope. So they're going to move
regardless how this plays out. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe they're probably hoping to have 2 locations. I'm not entirely sure.
Why don't they just go back to Wynwood? That was the spot.
Well, so they did so well in like turning Wynwood into a happening spot that the owner of the building they were in sold the land so it could be developed. So now it's, I think,
so ironic,
condos or something.
Okay.
So like it got
multi-million-dollar condos.
Something. Yeah. So it got demolished and it was it was like a converted warehouse that they were operating in. And so it basically doesn't exist anymore because Wynwood property got so valuable.
It's like downtown Austin. It went from like
probably similar
grungy to super elite.
Yeah. So the same thing happened there. And they've bounced around a couple other locations and stuff. But yeah, the building they've been in now, it's a cool building. It's the old historic City Hall of Miami Beach.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's a cool building. It used to be the Miami Beach Cinematheque, which ran it. And then I think the owner was retiring or something. And then OCinema took over. Miami
is like a historic town. Like it's been around for a while, longer than LA, I'm sure.
Miami Beach was 1915.
Oh, okay. So
as a city.
Okay. So LA is older.
I mean, it was swampland. Like,
okay. I just keep thinking like Florida was developed because it's on the East Coast.
Yeah, but once you start going south, it was all mangroves and swamp. So it was everything there is pretty artificial.
Okay,
it was not a hospitable area.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it only really started booming in like the 30s. They built the train line down there, and then realized like, when everyone's freezing up north, they can come down here and have some nice sun and fun. And then that was
that's just kind of a little segue, but it's kind of like Hawaii in a lot of ways. Like, did you know there's an island across from Maui that is completely uninhabitable because in World War II they were using it as like a bombing range, mining range, or whatever. Yeah, and now it's like prime real estate that nobody can live in.
Yeah,
because nobody could get there back in the day. Like you'd have to take a ship for a couple of weeks to get to Hawaii, and then all it was pineapple and sugarcane farms. They're like, we're never going to use this land. Yeah.
Other tangent or side thing with history of Miami doing crazy stuff against film. So Rene Rodriguez, who's a reporter at the Miami Herald, pointed out that with Scarface, which famous film shot at Miami Beach, the city commission there was not a fan of Scarface filming in Miami and tried to kick them out.
I could see that.
So not the first time Miami's done some crazy reactionary stuff against.
I mean, like to LA's defense, there's a lot of films that take place in LA that are harmful to LA's image, I guess. Like LA gets destroyed over and over again, or it's like we don't care. It's just a film, man. It's all fake.
Yeah, I think everyone here knows it's all fake. Yeah. But we'll see how the vote goes. I'm hoping that this doesn't pass and they're not evicted because it just also seems like an egregious right to free speech in a country of like free speech and expressing yourself. You can disagree with stuff. Like that's what we have our right to do. But
where else in the world can you actually have this discussion and then go to court with it? So we are a unique outlier in this whole ecosystem.
Yeah. And I mean, I hope it doesn't set, you don't want to see this set a precedent for like other independent film and other movies where it's like, okay, maybe you don't agree with the topic, but like it has a right to play and people to see it and make their own decision.
Right. Comedy films need to just be what they are. Yeah. Just let it be.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up there. So links to everything we talked about are available at the show notes and at denoisedpodcast.com.
Give us a like, give us a comment, give us a follow, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
All right. Thanks everyone. Catch you in the next episode.